Good morning, everyone. My name is Beata Czajkowska, and indeed I am affiliated and actually creator of the two foundations that you see the logos of. But today I'm going to talk to you in my kind of primary capacity. That is my capacity as a political scientist, because by training that's who I am. And when I looked at what this workshop is about, the topic was about, the topic you're working on is identity, but I was asked to talk more about politics, where maybe politics of identity go awry. But I'm a political scientist, so, sorry guys, okay. So I am an analyst. And here is what I'm going to talk to. Of course, this is tons of very, very complicated words and so on. This is how we officially write it. But what this talk is about woke, the term we are at least all aware of. But what I would like to tell you is really where it started, what is the origin, what happened, and how capture or using it or expansion of the use created a bit of a mess. But is it good or bad? We don't know. What we know, it is change. It is somehow contributing to social change. And maybe, and that's what I'm going to talk about in more than 133 words, I am afraid. I would like to start with where phenomena, ideas, where do they come from? How do we know that something is off? What drives social change? Well, there is a theory which I'm quite fond of, and I think it applies to woke. It's a theory of relative deprivation, the first actually published in that book that you see the cover of. What is relative deprivation? I put some definitions here, but really what it is, it's the moment when we realize that something about our lives is off. And it really applies to prejudice, it applies to oppression, it applies to sort of understanding that my current life circumstances are not what I think they should be, because I feel that I want more, that I somehow, vis-a-vis somebody else, vis-a-vis one group, vis-a-vis another, I feel that my needs, the group, this is actually a social movement theory, so we're here talking about social movements, and thank you. So we talk about social movements, that what we need is, we need this awareness, we need this alert. And I'll give you an example. If you, all your lives, are stuck in a certain circumstances, let's just use circumstances of a village, okay? You're stuck. There's always certain things going certain way and so on. And then earthquake comes and rescuers come to the village and they bring certain things that make life better, okay? They bring to the village water, they hook up electricity through generators and so on. And the villagers realize, wait, so our lifestyle can be different somehow. Our life, why don't we have it? What is about us, or is it about us? What is it about the circumstances, the context, the social context, really political, economic context? That does not satisfy me here. And this is an impulse for doing something about it. And it can evolve into social movements. Some critics actually think that the original theory was too optimistic into evolution into social movements. We're not gonna be talking about it. What I want to say this is relative. So this is certain groups have number of grievances, or certain group of individuals, or certain political groups have number of grievances that they want to address because they feel that they are deprived relative to what they think they should be. And also, it's interesting because it also has a call for action, because my last line, the groups who are starting, the groups start with the belief that their grievances can be addressed by society, by societal structure, and so on. So this is generally theory. Why do I think it applies to the term woke? Let's just go back to its original definition, which is it refers to, it's an African-American vernacular English. It's a word, it's an adjective created from past participle of to wake. Wake, waked, woken, or in American vernacular, African-American vernacular English, it's woke. What does it mean? Awake, alert, aware. How do we? This has been first used in 1930s, generally, initially, and really up till teens, 2000 teens. It was used in terms of awareness and alertness to racial and to racial injustice and prejudice and oppression. It was kind of lulled, this term. Nobody was using it very much until about early 2010s, and about 2015, with Black Lives Matter, used the hashtag or the idea, woke. How we are raising awareness for a specific cause. And that specific cause was political violence and police abuse. And then what it does, when you have this alertness, when you woke, it works on both the group, the movement, or the group, the people who feel victimized, because they realize where they are victimized, and a general awareness, because if this issue, if this topic spreads into public sphere, let's say, it could be public sphere primarily through media, but into public conversations, then we all, or all of us, more of us, start to question something that we never questioned before. Is there really discrimination? 400 cars that are stopped on the street in the police somewhere in Nebraska, 88 stops are of drivers of minority. And then you start wondering, yes, if let's say, minority comprise, 23% of a society, and then you have this huge gap. Why is this gap? Are the drivers of color really bad drivers, all of them? Or is it an assumption on the part of law enforcement that they are that they're more prone to committed crimes? So we just become kind of question certain beliefs. And again, woke started, and it was actually a positive term. It was a term meaning empathy, meaning, it was something to be sympathetic, to notice, and so on. But then around 2015, and especially right around the pandemic, this term became very popular. Very popular, as I call it in a way, I'll probably say it later as well. I call it hashtag hijacking. So you have certain established social process going on, and the social process has its own life, but then other groups realize that using similar social movements, similar social process will work to their advantage. And that creates, in a way, proliferation. And this proliferation of term of woke, there was, in a way, explosion of it around 1920s, 2020, and then it became actually a normative term. Because remember, initially, it's just a description of what it is. And here, when we start using it in terms of politics, that is, we are starting to compete for something. Politics is all about competition, of course. We are proliferating it, but does it work? Would it work for everything? What are the dangers of it? And I think, and I also want to say two words about why then, okay? Why was it 2020 and so on? Of course, pandemic, the general absolute shock to the global system that it caused, both because of the consequences of the pandemic and also health consequences of the pandemic. I mean, you know, there's a huge discrimination in access to health, access to vaccines, and so on. We all have lived through it. So that's one thing. Another reason is when we become isolated, when we become closed, when everything, all our points of reference are all of a sudden being questioned, humans have a natural tendency to search for some place to belong, to somehow become part of something bigger. So these are basically these two phenomenons. But notice that here we are moving from simply description of a process to ideologization or politicization or capture of the process. And I put few definitions of what currently, depending on where you stand and what you think, what you may think woke is, okay? You see, I found multiple definitions of this. And what is the common denominator of this definition? It makes absolutely no sense. It means nothing. Because it has proliferated so far, and it has been used in so many contexts, that there's absolutely no way that we can now identify it as part of a social movement, social protest. No, it has become a tool, as I said, to demand change. It has become a tool to resist change. It has become a tool of course, in politics, politics captured it. And again, it is connected to the context in which we live. We live in the world that is not only very quickly changing, but also a world that we have fears. We have a lot of fears. We all probably have environmental anxieties, yes? Either we believe it or not, we know something is going on. We know about all the other things that are sort of not there. They're misaligned, and they're happening extremely fast. And all this phenomenon, all these issues that we are surrounded by, find us or kind of force us to find some definitions for it. This is how we operate. This is just, it's not this particular phenomenon. We as societies want to classify something, name it, do something about it. So what do you think it is? I think I'm not running a survey in this group, but probably most of you would be able to identify with one or the other of these definitions. So, based on the unfortunate, and I would say unhappy progression of what woke was and what it has become, it has certain social consequences. I mean, in a way, opening public space for debate, because that's what it is. This is bringing more players into public debate, has its consequences. And here I put something that could be considered negative consequences. This is why we now think that this is the term from 1920 or so, 2020, child of the 20th century. My reference is 1900s, but here we are in 2020s. What happened is we feel, we kind of, no, these are the negative consequences. This is why this phenomenon of woke, or this term woke and so on, is now considered to be negative. It's pejorative. It is something almost a slander in some cases. Oh, you woke, or you know, everything is about you, and so on. And we've seen these wars, and unfortunately it proliferates a lot of small and bigger wars. What I would like to talk about is certain negative phenomena on political in political sphere that are especially dangerous if we start in good faith starting social movement when our system is not exactly yet adjusted to it. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. This is how system changes. Here, what I'm going to talk about is about certain abuses or negative consequences when there is a disalignment with multiple grievances. What happens, for example, I would like to talk about relativization of victimhood. Groups that have grievances, that feel that they have been unequally treated, oppressed, and so on. There are very, very strong and absolutely understandable and right feeling that they demand grievances. But what happens if you have a lot of groups seeking compensation? Let's say compensation in various terms. I'm not talking about just monetary compensations, but compensation of being noticed and so on. They start competing, and there is a danger of what I called competitive victimhood. And what it does, it creates something that is very dangerous from the point of view of our thinking as societies. What it relativizes victims. That is, my grief, is bigger than yours. No, we all were wronged. This atomizes the movement, and it allows for usage of this atomization movements, again, in political and in politics, and it further spreads political fights, political polarization, and so on. But I really think that this especially interests me. This victimhood, because I think we are losing sight almost that we all suffer. Okay, we all have. This is right that we feel bad about something that is happening to us, but if we if we all start screaming about it, it's all of a sudden we start relativizing it. Is losing a leg more important than being arrested or being stopped on a highway? Yes, is losing a leg because of lack of access to medical care. And we lose sight that as a society, in order to make progress, we opening the space. I mean, this is how progress in societies, especially democratic societies, is made. We open public sphere to more groups, okay? We accept more differences. We accept that people are different. Here, we can run into danger, and unfortunately in the last several years we have run into that danger, that if I scream the most, I will get most compensation. However, let's not be pessimistic. What also it brings in positive, the whole movement, the whole proliferation of wokeism, talking about, hashtag something, really also generates positive consequences. And I would like to sort of go toward the end with this positive consequences, because the most important is to be alert, to be aware, to sort of question and debate. And I think these voices and what happened, the voices, and they're really driving social change. And I will tell you, and this is my last slide, where I would like to come back to relative deprivation theory. And this is about how I will show you how difficult it is to actually change these perceptions. So this book was published in 1970. I had the pleasure of being a student of the author. In early 1990s, when I was in graduate school, he told our class, and I believe he was telling this to every class he taught, that his biggest regret about the book was not that his theory was questioned, repeatedly since it was published. And it opened a completely new area in social sciences, really, in analysis of social movements. No. Ted said that he was ashamed of the title. Because in 1970, when he wrote the book, it was a really progressive book. It never occurred to him to question the exclusion he put in the title. It's not men who rebel. Everybody has a right to rebel, and we should look at possible rebellions. Or we should just basically open our universes, yes? So this is just a simple I'm absolutely sure that in the United States in the 1970s, nobody thought about it. It took Ted 20 years, or over the course of 20 years, he started thinking that his own awareness was raised, okay? And this is the guy who came up with the theory. So we certainly have a long way to go, but the reason why I structured this talk the way I did is because I want to tell you not to dismiss something, to start looking, to start understanding what is going on, because wokeness, alertness, being awake is certainly a driving force for us to create a better society, for which I believe we all hope. Thank you very much.